to talk about iterator design pattern. This is a design pattern in which an iterator is used to traverse a container and access the container's elements. The iterator pattern decouples algorithms from containers. In some cases, algorithms are necessarily container specific and thus cannot be decoupled. This pattern is used to get a way to access the elements of a collection object in sequential manner without any need to know its underlying representation. For example, let's take an employee. Employee will have an employee name and employee other details. We would create an employee repository which will have all the attributes, and we will have a method called getIterator. That is the implemented method container which will have getIterator. Similarly, we will have employee iterator, and employee iterator will implement iterator interface that has methods such as hasNext and next. HasNext will check whether there is a new object, next object within the iterator, and next element will give you the next object. And the iterator test here will have our main method, and the main method will use employee repository to print all the employees within that iterator. Let's build this example and see how it works. Let's open our Visual Studio Code and create a new file called iterator.java. This is an interface that will have public boolean hasNext and one more method called public object next. I'll create another class called container.java, and this would be another interface which will have public iterator getIterator. Let's go ahead and create employee repository.java. This is a class, and that would implement container. Within this, we will have employee names. String names equals Dan, John, and Robert. These are our employee names, and we will override our iterator public iterator getIterator method. Within this, we will return new employee iterator. We haven't created this employee iterator. Let's go ahead and see. This is getIterator. We would override this, and let's create an inner class called employee iterator. Employee iterator that implements iterator. This could be private because we would be using only in this class. Iterator implements iterator, and let's create int index and add override public boolean hasNext method that will check if index is less than names.length or not. If it is, this is a class hasNext, then we return true, else we will return false. Similar to hasNext, let's override another method called next that will return an object if this dot has next, if we have objects, then return names and increment it, increment the index to get the next object, and return null if you don't find anything. This would be our employee repository class, which has employee iterator as an inner class. Now let us go ahead and create our final class called iterator test.java. This will have our main method, where we will create our employee repository first, new employee repository, and we will iterate to the iterator. Let's create a iterator equals employee repository dot get iterator until iterator has elements, has next. So for loop, now let us get the names, name equals iterator dot next. We have to typecast this to string, as the return type is object, and then we print that name. Print line, then this is employee name plus name. So here within our main method, we have created an employee repository object by instantiating, and then we are using employee repository dot get iterator in a loop. So every time we iterate through this, we get individual iterator, and we are checking if iterator dot has next element. If we have next element, then we keep going until we don't find any other elements. We get the element here, and we are getting the name from that and printing the employee name here. Let's go ahead and compile all our classes. javac *.java will compile all the files within this directory. And now let us test this. Iterator test. You see here, it has gone through this iterator, and it has printed all the employee names within the list of names that we have in employee repository class. This is a very simple example for iterator that could be used for other complex cases and complex objects. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.